Welcome to the Brooklyn Historical Society, where the vibrant history of Brooklyn is made tangible, meaningful, and relevant today. These videos feature inspirational highlights and excerpts from our teaching and learning materials. To find more resources about the history of Brooklyn, visit us online at www.brooklynhistory.org. This is the first video in a two-part series about the role of women's labor during World War II. This video explores women's roles in the workforce, the financial independence women gained working at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and the ways in which the war had a lasting impact on the lives of women in the workforce. Woven throughout this video are the voices of women who worked at the Brooklyn Navy Yard during World War II. When the United States entered World War II, thousands of American men were sent overseas to fight. While women had worked outside the home in select professions for decades, workforce needs during World War II called for an increase in the number of women working in traditionally male roles. In need of more workers, businesses like the Brooklyn Navy Yard hired civilian women. Prior to the war, women at the Brooklyn Navy Yard worked as secretaries, seamstresses, and in other roles commonly considered women's work. During the war, however, women worked in the yard's factories as machinists, welders, shipfitters, and other jobs traditionally filled by men. The Brooklyn Navy Yard was established in 1801 and served as America's premier naval shipbuilding facility for 165 years. During its time as a naval facility, the Brooklyn Navy Yard launched America's mightiest warships, including the USS Monitor, the USS Arizona, and the USS Missouri. World War II marked the fastest growth in the Yard's naval history, supporting 70,000 workers during the war. Jobs at the Brooklyn Navy Yard provided working women with some financial independence. Women were paid wages, had the opportunity to open bank accounts, and broke many stereotypes for women at the time. Working in factories during World War II marked one of the first times an American woman's survival and financial status were not tied to a man. Antoinette Morrow, who worked as a draftswoman at the Brooklyn Navy Yard from 1943 to 1945, discussed the importance of making her own money.
I thought it was nice, I enjoyed it. I only worked 6 days a week, even Saturday, and I went home with $27 a week, and I was a rich woman. And all my friends were getting 17, 18 in the bags, and here I was making a lot of money, but I was working Saturday. And $27 a week went a long way.
Another worker, Rubena Ross, highlighted the role work at the Navy Yard played in providing some security for women.
Started a bank account and put the money in the bank. A certain amount went into the bank because I said, I don't know how long this job will last, and I have got to establish a little financial security for myself. And I still got to the bank account.
As the end of the war approached, the armed forces prepared for the return of male soldiers by phasing out female war workers. Many women workers knew that after the war they would be given a pink slip, told thank you, and sent back to more traditional women's homemaking work. Most women working at the Navy Yard were laid off within the first few weeks after the end of the war in 1945, while others stayed on until men were back at work. Ida Pollock and Sylvia Everett worked together at the Brooklyn Navy Yard from 1942 to 1945. Both women spoke about being laid off once men returned from the war.
Well, the reason the mass layoff came, they told us we had to give up our jobs.
No,
so
I don't think there was any
so the
question.
men coming back.
Right. I don't think there was any question about it. The women went out plunk like that.
Yeah.
That was.
We knew
was
that
no
that was
question.
going to happen, just for the war.
We were helping the war, really.
While many women did go back to work in more traditional roles, there were some women who continued working outside the home, enjoying the agency and freedom this provided. While some welcomed the end to long hours and the hard physical labor at the Navy Yard, most despaired at the loss of the job and the income, which was significantly higher than what most women workers were making at mid-century. The presence of women in the workforce marked the beginning of a new chapter in the fight for women's rights. For more information about the history and work of the Brooklyn Navy Yard, check out our Ingenious Innovations Curriculum Kit on our Teaching Resources webpage and our Brooklyn Navy Yard Research Guide in the Research Guide section of our website, www.brooklynhistory.org.